And welcome to this preview of the upcoming show here at Proston Spotlight. I'm Brother Dan Gouvin, your host. With me is my co-host, Dr. Charles Hiltevittle. Doc, good to see you this morning.
It's good to be back together.
Here we are at the end of all things.
It is.
And speaking of the end of all things, the program this week is about the times of the Gentiles.
We're about to the end of it.
And this is a topic that I've not heard much about. I've not heard almost no prophecy people have really spent much time on this. What is the times of the Gentiles? Right. So tell us just briefly a little bit about the times of the Gentiles.
Well, the times of the Gentiles and the church age are not the same.
Okay.
Now, the church age is running congruently with it, but the times of the Gentile age began long before the church age, and it'll last beyond the end of the church age.
Okay. All right, so when, in your opinion, when did the times of the Gentiles begin?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious from Daniel chapter number 2. We have the image that is given there that Nebuchadnezzar has in his dream. And in that image, what God is revealing is the Gentile rule in its relationship to Jerusalem and Israel.
Well, my wheels are turning. I mean, I'm starting to think of stuff that we didn't even discuss when we prepared for this. I mean, things are just coming to me here. That whole statue is the entire...
That's the entire...
It's the entire times
That's the
of the
entire
Gentiles.
Gentile rule, all the way from Nebuchadnezzar. It begins there because it's Nebuchadnezzar that captures Jerusalem and trods under the foot, begins the trotting under the foot of Jerusalem by the Gentiles. That will not be completed until the Battle of Armageddon is finished.
Okay, so we got Babylon, that's Nebuchadnezzar, the head of gold.
Yes.
Then you got the Medes and the Persians. They come up through the sewer system and take over. Then you've got Alexander the Great, Daniel chapter 8.
Yeah, that's
we're going to talk about him a little bit in the show. And then we got the Roman rule.
Yeah, the 2 iron legs.
Yeah, all the way down to the 10 toes, which will be during the tribulation.
Which are the 10 kings or mountains and of the tribulation days. And then the finishing of it is a stone that's cut without hands that comes down, crushes those toes, and sets up a kingdom that's not passed along to anyone else. That's the millennial reign.
Yes. So the times of the Gentiles is basically from the time that Israel loses their sovereignty, loses their temple, and pulled out of their land, all the way, not because a lot of people believe that the tribulation is the end of the times of the Gentiles, but it's not. And some people think the middle of the tribulation.
No.
Your opinion is all the way to the end of the tribulation.
It's all the way to the end because the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, the Jews are in hiding for their very existence.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't have control of it at that time.
Yeah, it's still the times of the Gentiles.
It's still the times of the Gentiles.
Okay.
Until that stone comes, that's Christ at the second coming. And when he comes in the second coming, the Battle of Armageddon, the end of the times of Gentiles, and the millennial reign begins.
So it's basically all Israel from Abraham, Genesis 12, all the way until Nebuchadnezzar. I mean, you go through the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel, the Kings, Judges, Joshua, and all that.
Yes.
All the way up until Nebuchadnezzar comes along because they disobeyed and
Nebuchadnezzar is the Gentile rule that destroys the temple.
Yep.
And that's why the temple is such an important factor in these end time matters.
Let me just read this little paragraph because I put a big wow. I wrote wow with an exclamation point. And I'm getting ready to put a second exclamation point there. And you wrote this, by the way. When will it end? I'm talking about the times of the Gentiles. At Armageddon, this is all seen in the image of Nebuchadnezzar's dream in Daniel chapter 2. The end of this age, as seen in the feet with the 10 toes, partly iron, partly clay, are destroyed at the second coming of Christ. And I guess why I wrote wow there is when you mentioned the image, it all became clear to me.
Sure.
That image is basically the 5 coming kingdoms of the world.
It's it. That's
Babylon, Medes and the Persians, Alexander the Great, Rome, and then the revived Rome. That's number 5.
Yes.
And then that stone that we await, that stone cut out without hands, is going to crush man's kingdoms down here. And Christ.
That's why in Daniel, in chapter 7, God gives his view of the Gentile kingdoms. The view that God gave to Daniel or to Nebuchadnezzar that Daniel interpreted is man's evaluation of Gentile rule. It's valuable and it's strong. But in chapter 7, God tells us that it's like wild beasts.
Right. And you say it exactly as I write about it in my books. You and I are on the same page there. Daniel 2 is man's view of world
Yes,
kingdoms.
it is.
Wonderful, powerful,
Oh, yeah.
valuable, pretty. But in Daniel 7, the same kingdoms.
Exact same
from
thing.
God's perspective.
Yes.
He tells Daniel, this is how I look at the kingdoms
Yes.
of the world. Wild beasts that cannot be tamed.
Can't be tamed.
And by the way, that includes America and our government.
Yes, it does.
And we can see that pretty clearly now. This thing's out of control.
Way out of control.
And the beast has grown. It needs more tax money every year. It needs more food, more sustenance, and draining the people dry.
It is.
And
Not just here, but it's worldwide.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so in the show this week, we are going to talk about the times of the Gentiles. And,
Right.
I think
And
we're-
help folks understand the difference between the church age and the Gentile age.
Yes, and let's make sure we hit that, because the church age is part of the times of the
Yes.
Gentiles,
Oh,
but
yes.
it's actually
Yes.
a separate entity in itself.
Because that's the age period that the question in Matthew chapter 24, it's not about the church age, but it's about the kingdom age. When's it coming in its relationship to the Gentile age?
Okay. All right, well, folks, that's the preview for the upcoming show. Hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Subscribe to our channel. Share these videos on your media pages and get these out there if you can. And we'd love to expand and get more people viewing our shows. Don't forget, the TV show is on every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on CTN, Christian Television Network. It's a satellite network. It's all over Dish and cable and DirecTV. I guess it's all them things, but it's on satellite. And get the word out, and let's get people hearing about these prophecy shows that we're putting out for you. Doc, I can't wait, and
Yes.
we'll hit this stuff. We'll have a whole show on this. All right, until next time, keep your eyes on them skies.